Sometimes it happens so quietly, you almost miss it. A bee appears near your garden, or near your hand, or strangely enough, right in front of your face. It circles once, pauses, hovers for a moment, then leaves. And for most people, that moment means almost nothing. Just a bee, doing bee things, moving through the day, searching for flowers. But sometimes, something strange happens after. Minutes later, more bees appear. Not dozens, not a swarm, just enough to make you wonder. Another bee, then another, hovering near the same flowers, the same space. Sometimes, the same person. Most people assume coincidence, and most of the time, that assumption feels reasonable. But inside a hive, almost nothing happens randomly, because bees live inside a world built entirely on information. Information about food, about weather, about danger, about safety, about change, and perhaps something stranger, the humans moving through their environment. Tonight, we are entering a world most people never stop to think about. The hidden language of bees, the silent signals happening all around you every single day. How bees communicate. Why some people seem to attract different reactions. What may actually happen after a bee visits your garden. And whether bees might be sharing information about humans in ways most people never imagine. Because the next time a bee pauses in front of you, you may start wondering something strange. What happens after it leaves? Welcome back to the Bee Mind. Subscribe before you leave, because what you are about to learn is happening around your home every single day, almost completely unnoticed. And by the end of this video, you may never look at a bee the same way again. For most of human history, people misunderstood bees. We admired honey. We feared stings. We watched them move from flower to flower. Tiny creatures, busy, predictable, simple, or at least that is what humans believed. A bee leaves the hive, finds flowers, returns, end of story. But the reality is infinitely stranger, because the moment a bee leaves its hive, it becomes something like an explorer, a scout, a collector of information. And unlike humans, bees cannot afford to ignore details. Everything matters. The temperature, the wind, the movement of shadows, the shape of flowers, the smell of nectar, the location of water, even subtle disturbances in the environment, because survival depends on precision. A mistake can mean starvation, or predators, or a hive slowly weakening until winter becomes impossible to survive, which means every trip outside the hive matters, more than most people realize. Imagine for a moment, a bee lands on a flower near your backyard. To you, the moment lasts seconds. Forgettable, but to the bee, the world is overflowed with information. The flower species, the amount of nectar, nearby smells, changing temperature, movement, threats, even you, especially you, because whether we realize it or not, humans are among the largest moving objects in a bee's environment. Unpredictable, fast, difficult to understand, sometimes harmless, sometimes dangerous. And bees notice patterns surprisingly quickly. This is one of the reasons certain moments feel strangely personal. A bee hovering near your face, not landing, not leaving, just staying there, close enough to hear the wings, as though it is trying to understand something. And in some ways, it probably is, because bees experience the world differently than humans, far differently. Their eyes process movement at extraordinary speed, faster than ours. Movements that feel normal to us can appear sudden and dramatic to a bee. Your hands, your breathing, the direction you turn your head, the colors you wear, the way sunlight reflects from your skin. To a bee, you are not a person. You are information, a moving collection of signals, something to evaluate, something to remember, and perhaps something to report. Because here is something most people never think about. A bee almost never keeps information to itself. This is where the story becomes strange. Imagine you visit a new city. You discover a restaurant so extraordinary. You immediately text your friends. You tell them where it is, what it looks like, how good the food was, why they should go. Humans do this constantly. We share useful information. And strangely enough, so do bees. Only their system works in ways that feel almost impossible. Because when a bee discovers something important, flowers, water, danger, a new food source, it usually returns to the hive carrying more than nectar. It returns carrying information. And what happens next completely changed the way scientists understand animal intelligence. At first, humans thought bees followed scent. Simple instinct, nothing more. A bee finds flowers. Others smell the nectar. End of explanation. Except that explanation stopped making sense. Because bees kept doing something impossible. A single bee would leave, find flowers far away, return home, and suddenly, other bees somehow knew exactly where to go. Not approximately, not vaguely, precisely, the right direction, the right distance, sometimes miles away. Researchers watched this happen again, and again, and again, until eventually, they realized something unsettling. The bees were communicating, not randomly, not emotionally, not by accident, systematically, accurately, almost unbelievably efficiently. And strangely enough, the communication happened in complete darkness, inside the hive, far from human eyes, because hidden inside a colony, there is something most people never see, a language, not words, not sounds, but movement, signals, patterns, messages. And one scientist finally understood what bees were doing. It changed everything we thought we knew about intelligence itself, because suddenly, the tiny insect moving quietly through your garden did not seem so simple anymore. And what bees may be communicating might be stranger than most people realize. For centuries, humans stood near hives without realizing something extraordinary was happening just inches away, because inside that darkness, inside the heat and vibration of thousands of moving bodies, information never stops moving. A bee returns from the outside world, and somehow the hive changes. More workers leave, directions shift, behavior changes, energy changes, almost as if the colony received an update, which in a strange way, it did. Scientists eventually discovered that when a forager bee finds something valuable, it often performs one of the strangest behaviors in the natural world. At first glance, it looks meaningless. A tiny insect moving strangely across honeycomb, turning, vibrating, repeating odd patterns. Nothing about it feels intelligent. Nothing about it looks like language. And yet, that strange movement changed science forever. Because the bee is not simply moving, it is communicating. Known today as the waggle dance, this behavior may be one of the most extraordinary communication systems on Earth. Inside complete darkness, a bee somehow tells other bees exactly where something important exists. Distance, direction, quality, value, all without maps, without sound, without anything humans would recognize as conversation. The angle matters, the duration matters, even the intensity matters. A richer food source creates more excitement, a stronger dance, a more urgent message. And nearby bees watch, follow, interpret, then leave the hive, flying toward places they have never visited before, sometimes nearly impossible distances away, as though someone whispered directions into their ears. But nothing was whispered. The message lived entirely in movement, which becomes strange to think about. When you remember something simple, every bee visiting your garden is eventually going home, and home is where information spreads. The flowers near your fence, the lavender near your window, the water bowl left outside, the fruit tree blooming in spring. Everything matters. Everything becomes part of the hive's understanding of the world. And this raises a strange possibility. If bees communicate valuable places, what happens when they encounter danger? Because flowers are not the only thing bees remember, and survival matters more than nectar. Imagine this. A bee enters a quiet backyard. Flowers everywhere. Warm sunlight. Safe conditions. Nothing unusual. The bee returns home, and perhaps more bees follow later. Simple, but now imagine something different. The same bee approaches a garden. A loud machine starts nearby. A sudden movement. A person swats aggressively. Fast hands. Rapid motion. Vibrations. Stress. To humans, the moment feels small, forgettable. But to a bee, small moments can matter because bees learn patterns. And once scientists began studying bee behavior more closely, they discovered something surprising. Bees are much better at learning than humans once believed. Much better. Researchers train bees to solve puzzles, recognize shapes, identify visual patterns, even distinguish between human faces. Not because bees understand identity the way humans do, but because they remember arrangements, patterns, features, enough to tell one face from another, which sounds almost impossible, until you realize how much of a bee's survival depends on memory. A bee that forgets does not survive long. Flowers move with seasons. Food disappears. Predators return. Danger repeats. Memory matters. And this is where something begins to feel slightly unsettling, because humans often assume bees react randomly. One bee seems calm. Another seems strangely interested. One person walks through a garden unnoticed. Another feels watched, hovered near, followed for a moment longer than expected. And sometimes the interaction feels strangely personal, almost deliberate, as though the bee recognizes something. Most people dismiss these moments. Coincidence, imagination. But coincidence may not explain everything. Because while bees may not recognize you the way another human would, they are absolutely reading information about you. Your movement, your speed, your smell, the colors you wear, the way you behave. To a bee, you are not one thing. You are hundreds of tiny signals happening all at once. And bees are astonishingly good at reading signals, especially signals connected to risk. This becomes important because inside many hives, danger spreads fast, faster than most people realize. A single bee becomes alarmed, and suddenly the atmosphere changes. Guard bees shift behavior. Movement increases. Tension rises. The hive becomes more alert. All because information moved through the colony, silently, invisible to humans. And much of this happens through something humans never see. Chemicals, signals carried through the air, tiny invisible warnings, messages that spread faster than sound. A bee senses danger and releases a signal. Pay attention. Something changed. Something may be wrong. And nearby bees react, almost instantly, which raises another strange question. If a bee experiences something unusual around a human, what exactly happens after it returns home? Because the answer may be stranger than most people imagine, especially when you realize bees do not experience humans equally. Some people attract almost no attention. Others seem to trigger reactions they never expected. And once you understand why, you may start looking at your own backyard very differently. There is something many people quietly believe, even if they never say it out loud, that bees react differently to different people. You probably know someone like this, the person who somehow always attracts bees. No matter where they go, the person standing calmly at a picnic, while bees seem strangely interested in only them, hovering, circling, returning. Meanwhile, someone standing 3 feet away is completely ignored. It feels random, sometimes almost unfair, and occasionally a little personal, as though the bees made a choice. But the truth may be stranger than that, because bees experience humans through signals most people never even notice. The first is scent, and scent matters far more than most people realize. Flowers release invisible chemical compounds into the air, signals, messages, a kind of biological invitation, and bees evolved over millions of years to detect them with astonishing precision, which becomes strange when you realize how many human products accidentally imitate those same signals. Perfume, shampoo, soap, hair products, laundry detergent, body lotion, even sunscreen. Many contain floral compounds. Compounds bees naturally investigate. To a bee, some humans may smell unexpectedly familiar, unexpectedly interesting, something worth paying attention to, especially during warm months when flowers are everywhere and bees are actively searching. But scent is only part of the story. Color matters too, though not in the way most people imagine, because bees do not see the world the way humans do. Their vision is completely different. They detect ultraviolet light, patterns hidden inside flowers that humans never notice, invisible landing guides, secret markings nature designed millions of years ago. And because of that, certain colors stand out intensely: bright yellows, blues, purples, white. Some clothing may accidentally resemble flowers far more than we realize. Meanwhile, dark, fast-moving objects sometimes trigger caution, because many natural predators of bees, bears, large mammals, moving threats, appear dark. Suddenly, small details begin making more sense. The yellow shirt, the floral perfume, the fast hand movements, the person breathing heavily after mowing the lawn. All information, all signals. And bees are constantly reading signals, which helps explain something strange many people have experienced. The moment someone becomes nervous around bees, everything suddenly feels worse. Not because bees smell fear, not emotionally, not magically, but because fear changes behavior. Breathing changes, movement changes, posture changes. Everything becomes sharper, faster, less predictable, and unpredictability always attracts attention. To a bee, sudden movement matters, because survival depends on noticing sudden movement. Predators move suddenly. Threats move suddenly. Danger moves suddenly, which means calm behavior often changes everything. And strangely enough, many experienced beekeepers already understand this instinctively. Slow movement, steady breathing, no panic, no swatting, because once panic enters the interaction, the signals change, and the bees notice. But there is something else worth thinking about, something stranger, because sometimes people describe moments that feel unusually personal. A bee that follows them, a bee that hovers near their face for far longer than expected, a bee that returns again and again. Most scientists would offer practical explanations: scent, salt from sweat, movement, curiosity, environmental patterns, and most of the time, they are probably right. But even practical explanations can feel strangely profound when you experience them yourself, because standing face to face with a hovering bee, close enough to hear its wings, close enough to feel watched, does something strange to the human mind. You begin wondering, what is it seeing? What is it noticing? And perhaps most strangely, what happens after it leaves? Because this is the part people almost never think about. Every bee eventually returns somewhere, back to darkness, back to vibration, back to thousands of others, back to the hive. And once there, information moves. The flowers near your porch, the blooming tree in your backyard, the quiet patch of lavender beside your fence, the warm afternoon conditions, the unusual movement near the garden. Everything becomes part of something larger, something collective, something strangely intelligent. Scientists still struggle to fully explain how this works, because no single bee understands the whole system. No bee controls the hive. No bee sees the full picture. And yet somehow, thousands of tiny creatures work together with astonishing coordination, adapting, learning, responding, changing, almost as if the hive itself is thinking, a kind of intelligence larger than the individual bee, one mind built from thousands of smaller ones. And perhaps that is why bees continue fascinating scientists even now, because the deeper humans look, the stranger everything becomes. A creature with a brain smaller than a seed, helping build one of the most efficient communication systems in nature, hidden all around us, quietly unfolding every day, mostly invisible, mostly unnoticed, until suddenly a bee pauses in front of your face, hovering, watching, staying just long enough to make the moment feel strange. And now, you may start seeing that moment differently, because perhaps the bee was not simply passing through. Perhaps it was gathering information, reading signals, learning something about the world around it, and maybe carrying part of that story home. The next time a bee leaves your garden, ask yourself something strange. What exactly is it carrying back? Tell me in the comments. Have you ever had a bee hover near you long enough to feel like it was actually watching? I read every comment. And subscribe to the Bee Mind for more hidden behaviors happening around you every single day.